Hello, Serious Survivor here. This video is the start of the sniper videos. These are part of the SHTF Defense and Tactics Series. The goal of these videos is to assist those who intend on using snipers and incorporate it into their defense plan for securing their primary location, for defending themselves from an attacking enemy, or used as preventative measures for keeping an enemy at a distance and also for offensive operations. In this set of videos, we'll take a look at the history of the sniper, we'll discuss its importance in combat and survival, look at the skills necessary and requirements to develop when becoming a proficient sniper. We'll discuss the benefits that these skills also add to each individual survivor, focus on the combat elements, and also cover counter-sniper tactics. The physical aspects such as firing positions, hides, and cover, and other tactics will be discussed in the next videos, so let's get started. A sniper is a military or paramilitary marksman or sharpshooter who operates alone or as part of a small team to maintain visual contact with the enemy and to engage targets from concealed positions or at distances exceeding their detection capabilities. And a major part of their role is they relay information back to their units or command headquarters. In addition to marksmanship and long-range shooting, military snipers are trained in a variety of tactical techniques. A sniper team or sniper cell consists of a combination of one or more shooters, commonly also with force protection elements and support personnel, such as a spotter and or a flanker. So these teams will sometimes be up to 3 personnel, and in more crowded urban environments, 2 teams will often be paired together. The operator of the weapon or shooter will have an assistant trained to fulfill multiple roles, in addition to being sniper qualified in the operation of the weapon. The shooter fires the shot while the spotter assists in observation of targets, atmospheric condition, and handles such ancillary tasks as immediate security of their location, communication with other parties. The spotter detects, observes, and assigns targets and also watches for and reports the results of the shot. The spotter also makes calculations for distance, angle shooting or slant range, mil-dot related calculations, correction for atmospheric conditions, and leads for moving targets. The flanker's task is to observe areas not immediately visible to the sniper or spotter and assist with the team's perimeter and rear security. Therefore, flankers are usually armed with an assault rifle or battle rifle. Sniper methods are valuable to the survivor for numerous reasons. They create an environment that's highly intimidating to aggressors. These skills give the survivor the ability to remain unseen if we wish. They also give us the training and ability to engage and destroy opponents with more advanced arms and greater numbers. We train to think asymmetrically, to prevail using less resources with less associated risk. These skills and abilities make us a truly viable threat. The more of us liberty-minded people who have this skill, the better we all shall be. There are a few considerations that this video will not go into, and these are the basic self-defense skills or your fighting ability, and also physical condition. These are a major factor in the success of any mission, but these are up to you as an individual to fine-tune. Always ensure that the best and most effective form of martial arts or fighting skills, in which you as an individual are comfortable with, is practiced constantly. Always keep yourself in good physical condition. These are imperative and are assumed to already have been developed. The other skills necessary to make sure you have mastered before this type of training begins is the basic skills for survival: fire for warmth, water, purification, food acquisition and preparation, basic first aid, back to the self-defense, and one of the most absolute important factors, navigation, with only a map and compass and even without a map and compass. If these skills are not fully developed, then the chances of successfully completing a mission will be extremely limited. A sniper team or individual will have to be able to survive on his or her own for extended periods of time. So if one does not possess the required basic survival skills, then one may very well not succeed as a sniper, or at least not as an effective one. To begin, choose a caliber. To become a precision long-range shooter, we must be intimately familiar with the caliber of ammunition we choose, as the caliber we choose has to meet certain criteria. Is it reloadable? Is it powerful enough? And will it be available, or how plentiful will it be in an SHTF event or apocalyptic scenario? Different calibers meet different needs, depending on several factors, one being the geographic location in which these skills will be put to use, different ranges, different weather patterns, and also different types of targets one would expect to be taken down. For example, the typical AK-47, AR-15, or average lower to mid-range hunting rifle may not be as effective in a sniper situation as some of the larger, more powerful calibers. In urban settings, the 223 5.56 round is sometimes used for sniping, but usually within ranges of 100 to 300 yards, but it's not practical for long range or maximum damage. One of the common calibers used for long-distance sniper platforms is the 308. The 308 has an effective range of about 800 to 1,000 yards, sometimes more, depending on the type of bullet and powder. I would label this cartridge as the bare minimum caliber to achieve sniper accuracy and penetration at very long distances. Similar calibers like the 30-06 or the 7.62 by 54 have equal capabilities. The 300 Winchester Magnum and the 7mm Magnum. These are a step up, entering into the Magnum rifle caliber category with excellent range and accuracy. The 300 Win Mag can be fired effectively at over a mile or 1,760 yards. The next stage in long-range calibers not only increases the effective ranges and the maximum damage, but also immensely increases the cost associated with these. The 50 BMG and the 338 La Poire. But the company that manufactures this particular round and other rounds is a French company, and the LAPUA is actually pronounced La Poire. But no matter which way it may be pronounced, this is still an extremely effective long-range caliber with excellent knockdown potential, penetration ability, and basically taking out a target with one shot. 50 BMG are very capable and efficient at 2,700 yards or more, and so heavy that they can and will penetrate most armor, including body armor and vehicles. But we could expect to pay anywhere between $3 to $4 and up for each 338 round, and $5 or more for some of the 50 cal rounds. Another thing to take into consideration when choosing a caliber or bullet type is ballistic coefficient. This term is usually abbreviated as BC, refers to the aerodynamics of a bullet or projectile. A long, slender, or sleek bullet with a pointed tip and a boat tail base flies through the air much easier, with decreased resistance from the air particles than, say, a blunt nose or round nose flat base design. Therefore, these more aerodynamic projectiles maintain their velocity much more efficiently. They have a flatter trajectory, drift less, while maintaining the energy and expansion velocity much better. BC numbers are determined by comparing a projectile's aerodynamic characteristics against a standardized model. The most common model is the G1. A G1 BC of 0.370 could represent a common, somewhat blunt bullet. A G1 BC of 0.600 or higher is considered very good in terms of aerodynamics. Choosing a rifle. Once we've researched and decided which caliber would be affordable, meets our needs and criteria, the next step is purchasing a rifle platform that fits the stringent requirements of long-distance shooting. Here's some things to look at. Rifle accuracy of 1 MOA or minute of angle or less. Our rifle must be able to fire shot groups of less than 1 inch apart at 100 yards. A minute of angle MOA is an angular measurement. An MOA is 1/60th of a degree. 1 MOA spreads about 1 inch per 100 yards. Actually, it's 1.047 inches. 1 MOA is a different size at different distances. 8 inches at 800 yards is still just 1 MOA. 10 inches at 1,000 yards is 1 MOA. 6 inches at 600 yards, 1 MOA. There are many out-of-the-box rifles that can easily fire within 1 MOA. Semi-auto or bolt action. The modern semi-auto rifles do often provide the accuracy we would need for long distance. Let's say the Springfield M1A, the FN AR, customized versions of the AR-10, and more. These can all become excellent sniper platforms. Semi-automatics have the distinct advantage of putting more lead down range faster and allows for us to acquire second targets and follow-up shots without the delay of cycling the bolt and reacquiring the target. They are, though, designed with looser tolerances than the common bolt action, which means ranges surpassing 800 yards are more difficult. Bolt action rifles tend to have very low capacity magazines and are slower to cycle, but many firearms produced today with our modern technological capabilities do have tighter chambers, more consistent parts, and heavier barrels, which result in more reliably accurate shots at 1,000 yards or more. Take into consideration how common are replacement parts and magazines for this rifle. Always work out and remedy any issues that may hinder performance before the rifle is introduced into a defense situation. Floated barrel. A floated barrel is a barrel that does not come into contact with any part of the rifle stock. A narrow space between the stock and the barrel prevents interference from the stock with the harmonics of the barrel. Shots become more consistent, and damage to the stock does not affect accuracy. A heavy barrel or factory barrel. Military snipers are sometimes issued the heavy barrel rifles because the weight of the barrel allows for more consistent shots, less overheating, and better harmonics. Nevertheless, a heavy barrel is not necessary to achieve sniper accuracy. It's helpful, but not an absolute. Choosing a scope. This is a component that each individual will have their own unique preferences. Find the scope that fits you, but here are some things that we should take into account. The common working choice for most long-range shooters is a mil-dot scope with quarter MOA adjustment knobs. It should also be designed and rated to handle the recoil of the caliber that we're going to be shooting. When deciding on a scope, it can be very easy to become overawed by the massive selection in today's market. We could easily spend $2,000 to $3,000 and much more in some cases. And for some shooters, the scope is the most expensive part of the platform. For those with the available funds, then by all means pick up a high-end scope. But as for myself and those of us who can't afford these, there are still quite a few excellent scopes available at affordable prices. Companies like Burris, Millet, Bushnell, and others produce sniper quality scopes that are designed to handle the constant and heavy abuse for around $200 to $400. The primary concern, though, with a scope is simply two things: that the scope holds its zero and that it's not easily broken. To be able to accurately hit a target, one thing that should be understood first is the bullet's trajectory. Basically, the trajectory is the path your bullet takes as it travels towards the target. A bullet's trajectory is parabolic. It starts below the line of sight and rises above it and then crosses it again as the bullet falls. Perhaps the most important of all skills required for sniping is the ability to effectively calculate distance and other variables. Projectiles coursing through the atmosphere are tremendously affected by several factors, two being gravity and air resistance. While gravity pulls the bullet downward, air resistance causes them to continuously slow or lose velocity. This loss of speed paired with the downward effect of gravity causes them to drop faster and faster towards the earth as they travel. Range finding. The range to the target must be measured or estimated as precisely as possible. A laser rangefinder is always the best choice if at all possible. But one useful method of range finding without one of these is comparing the height of the target or nearby objects to their size on the mil-dot scope. Mil-dots are used like a tool that can precisely be used to measure the size or actually the height of a target. And if the height of a target is a known factor, then the range can easily be determined. Using the mil-dots in your scope and the equation we see here, the known size of the target in yards times 1,000 divided by the size of the target in mil-dots, and this will equal the range in yards. So the height of the target in yards times 1,000 divided by the height of the target in mils, this gives us the range in yards. Once you know the distance to the target, you can adjust your scope to compensate for the bullet drop. So knowing your bullet drop, the amount of drop in your bullet at any given distance will determine how much we need to adjust the crosshairs of our scope upwards in order to compensate for this variable. To calculate bullet drop, we have to know how fast our bullet travels as it's leaving the barrel of the rifle, and this is called muzzle velocity. To do this, we can use a piece of gear called a chronograph or a chrony. And these are very easy to use. You just fire your test bullets over the top of the device or through it, and it'll determine the speed in feet per second or meters per second. Every bullet type and load will have different ballistics, so make sure to standardize the loads you're shooting out of your particular rifle and try to stick to some of the more common loads that you can purchase. By doing this, then you can easily memorize the effects, and this will make your calculations in the future much easier. Shooting uphill or downhill can be difficult because gravity does not act perpendicular to the direction of the bullet. Gravity is straight down, so gravity must be divided into its component vectors. Only the fraction of gravity equal to the cosine of the angle of fire with respect to the horizon affects the rate of fall of the bullet. To find the correct zero, the sniper multiplies the actual distance by this fraction and aims as if the target were that distance away. For example, a sniper who observes a target 500 meters away but is on a 45-degree angle downhill would multiply the range by the cosine of 45, which is 0.707. The resulting distance would be 353 meters. This number is equal to the horizontal distance to the target. So all other values such as windage, time to target, impact energy, velocity will be calculated based on the actual range of 500 meters. Adjusting for wind and temperature. Some snipers use small little weather stations and radios to give the exact wind and temperature readings in the field. The most reliable of these devices will generally range in the $300 to $500 price range. Temperature can also have a noticeable effect on the speed of a bullet, thus changing the point of impact. Higher temperature results in a faster burn rate for the powder, resulting in higher speeds. Cold weather can often result in reduced speed, though. Always test at differing temperatures and wind speeds and keep notes on how this affects your zero. Wind drift. Windage also plays a significant role, with the effect increasing with wind speed or the distance of the shot. Compensating for wind drift can be one of the most challenging aspects of shooting as distances stretch. As a bullet travels, any wind present exerts forces that will cause it to drift. Most commonly, the drift is lateral or side to side, but in some occasions, the wind can actually push your bullet vertically, downward or upward, such as situations in which you may be shooting uphill or downhill and there's a strong wind prevailing. A crosswind that's perfectly perpendicular to the line of your bullet's travel is typically called a full value wind because it exerts the most possible wind drift. A wind straight in your face or from straight behind you is called no value because it has no discernible effect on the path of the bullet. All adjustments for range, wind, and elevation can be performed by aiming off the target, and this is called holding over. But the sniper must know exactly what differences the changes will have on the point of impact to adjust for windage or elevation at each target range. For moving targets, the point of aim is ahead of the target in the direction of movement, and this is known as leading the target. The amount of lead depends on the speed and angle of the target's movement, as well as the distance to the target. For this technique, holding over is the preferred method. DOPE. This term is an acronym for Data on Previous Engagements. Many, even the most and best long-range shooters, keep a logbook in which they record conditions, distances, results, any variables every time they practice or compete. And these records will provide a valuable resource for later shots. Many long-range shooters utilize ballistic calculators to help them hit targets as distances increase. With these tools, the shooter can plug in various factors such as bullet caliber, weight, muzzle velocity, environmental elements to determine a bullet's trajectory. And this makes these calculations a lot easier in the beginning. For these calculations, they really help because they allow us to get all of the data basically correct from the first time, and we can see the results. And from there, we can sort of backtrack and learn the manual calculations and really start filling in the gaps and just become a more efficient shooter. Well, that's it for this video. We wanted to focus on some of the initial concerns, some of the variables that we take into account when choosing a weapon, when choosing ammunition, and some of the factors that we have to compensate for when shooting over long distances. Knowing what a sniper is capable of, knowing what a sniper has to take into consideration, allows us to use these factors to our benefit whenever possible. So by training and learning these skills, then not only do we increase our skills as a survivor, but we also increase our defensive skills because we understand what the sniper's job is and how he attempts to go about this. So every advantage that we have is a disadvantage for the enemy. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to check out the next ones in the series as we'll keep expanding on this topic and getting as deep into it as we can. I hope you found the video informative. Thanks a lot for watching. And for now, Serious Survivor, out.